Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we're back once again. We brought a very special guest with us, one of our longtime close friends, our buddy Scott from north of the border. Scotty, how's it going? We want to recognize that you are El Prez of what we mention almost every week, Brock Street Brewery, INC. So there you go. We're representing. So here we go again. It's preseason football, a lot to talk about. Got some emails to get to. Got some football talk to start with. Going into football season, I know these guys are going to be loving that. So yeah, we're going to make it happen. So we're going to kick it to Ed. I don't know if he can hear us. He's working remote about reading email.
I'm out on the road, fellas. I'm coming back from a Saints game. So I can hear you guys barely, but just letting you know, just trying to be here for you guys. Scotty, good to see you, man. And yeah, we just missed each other by another week again. Congratulations on the Brewery. I'm going to do my best to jump in and that type of thing, but it's going to be spotty at best. But I will leave 1 point. Did see Mahomes play for 2 series. The man live is the bomb. He's where it's at. So I'll listen in and jump in the best I can, but I can hardly hear you guys at all. So
okay. Tommy, I don't know if you got this week's email available. If you want to read it this week, we're stepping on Ed's toes with this one. So, yep.
Yeah, I've got it.
Okay, cool.
This week's email comes from Alec, and it's coming. We're going to England. It's Norwich, England, and I don't know if male or female. So hey, 1973, just came across your podcast. I love how it's regular dudes getting together talking about regular guy stuff. Reminds me of the old man show, a view that I miss these days. My question is, what's next for the 1973 boys?
I'll kind of take that one a little bit, and then maybe Tom can add to it. We're gonna start. If we read your email on the podcast, we'll send you a 1973 decal. We're in the works with that, and if you end up being a guest on the show, we'll shoot you a t-shirt. So decal for an email if we get to it. And then if you come on the show, we'll shoot you a t-shirt. So that's what we got in the works. And plus we just jumped on some new media platforms for our audio streaming. I don't know if the professor has the list, but I know one of them is Apple Podcasts.
I know it's Apple Podcasts, Samsung Podcasts, iTunes, I believe. Spotify, yep. And I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure I might be missing one, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, so there's at least 5 forms of audio platforms that we're jumping onto. The first episode is uploaded if you want to go back and listen to it. And then I'll slowly start to upload more of the episodes as time permits. It's going to start getting heavy with me with school and hockey season coming aboard. So I'm going to be rocking and rolling, going in about 4 different directions with 2 kids this year. So I'm going to be, we'll be consistent. We'll be here every weekend, and we'll be getting another podcast out to you. So before we get going with some football talk, let's talk to Scott a little bit. Tom, you want to hit him up with a couple questions about one of the guys that we love and we want to give a big virtual hug to?
Well, Scotty, I mean, first off, how the heck did a guy from Massachusetts end up in Ontario?
Yeah, I know. Well, I just needed some better hockey competition, right?
I love it. I love it.
You know, I just needed you needed to get a little faster skating. No, you guys know the story, but basically I came up here with the family and had my youngest there, but had another daughter here, and life has happened. And before you know it, I've got 2 jobs, a lot of crazy stuff on the go. And it's been like 16, 17 years now.
Time flies, too.
Nice, man. So how did the idea, I've always wanted to know, how the idea of opening up the brewery come about? I've never actually asked you this.
Well, it came about because of alcohol. Basically, you like all our best ideas, it actually happened over a drunk text. So me and my buddies, we were kind of just talking about things to do, want to get a bit of a hobby. So we decided, hey, let's try brewing some beer. And after a bunch of hours brewing beer. The one thing you do while you're brewing beer is you drink beer. And so we were quite in the bag at the time, and we had the number to the mayor of our town, and we, had this great idea. Oh, we're making incredible beer, even though we really weren't at the time. And so we sent her a text saying, "Hey, we'd like to buy the fire hall in downtown Whitby and open up a brewery." And we've been open for 8 years later. We're all across the province. We have about 40 employees and tons of variety. We're in about 300 liquor stores and all kinds of crazy stuff. We've had the Stanley Cup up to the third floor.
Well, that's what I was going to mention. You've expanded, right? The brewery itself is expanded to are you 3 floors now?
Yeah. We built a 20,000 square foot brewery right in the heart of Whitby. We had a smaller location originally. And so we have the brewery, there's a restaurant there, a banquet hall, and then a third floor, which is a rooftop lounge. It's kind of really cool prohibition style. And we had Cal Foote up there, Adam Foote's son, when he played for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Because of COVID, they didn't get their day with the cup. And so they had to do it the same year Colorado won. So they had to split it up. And so he was very specific on the date. And we had them up there, and you guys probably have seen it. I have a picture of me drinking my beer out of the Stanley Cup. I always thought I would be doing that because of a player, but my 5'7" frame never would let me. I was no Theon Fleury.
You goon.
Yeah,
exactly. I think the only thing you have in common with Theo Fleury is the beer.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I know you're humble, but I do know your brewery. You've won some awards up there, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We were named best new brewery in Ontario. We've had a bunch of different national awards in Canada for all the different beers. So it's been a good go of it. We make some good beer. We've got a good following. We produce probably a couple million beers a year. All throughout the province of Ontario. Basically, we're right out the greater Toronto area, and would love to expand. We're hoping to build another brewery in a couple of years to come. But yeah, and we're the sponsor for the 1973 podcast.
Absolutely.
Without even knowing it, it's by osmosis.
Yeah, a couple beers and some t-shirts.
Yep. Nothing.
And I still buy you a t-shirt.
No good decisions are made over tuna salad, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, on a lighter note, Scotty, I know you're a huge Boston Bruins fan. How do you get treated up there with all the Maple Leaf fans?
Oh God! Well, the thing is, you always have something over the Maple Leafs, right? They're like how the Red Sox were back before we broke the curse. So they may give you a little shit. The problem I have is anytime a Boston team loses, I'm the only Boston person someone knows. So my phone blows up. I actually have to shut my phone off if I'm trying to watch something in delay. Because having 2 young kids for the longest time, I couldn't watch the Pats game or the Bruins game live time, so I'd record it. And then I'd get a text going, "Hey, look at Scotty, they're getting their ass kicked," or what have you. So I would have to just put it on airplane mode and do that. But they got some great fans up in here in Toronto, and they've got a very passionate fan base. But you're starting to see them, their mental acuity, their mental fragility is starting to break every year.
They remind me of us Red Sox fans before the Red Sox broke the 86-year curse.
Exactly. There's one of my friends has a calendar where it has all the years the Maple Leafs won the cup. And then on the last spot is just a tear away paper where you can, we didn't win it this year, just tear it away.
So that's all I got. You guys got any questions for Scotty?
No, I just, the thing I'll say to the Maple Leafs fans is I hope that you guys don't win, because that puts the Flyers in the queue for the longest without a Stanley Cup. So that's the buffer. Keep that curse going. I need that buffer before.
So I got a couple questions for the podcast here.
Okay.
So I know you wanted Bobby Orr. Am I second up? I heard Bobby Orr was mentioned in the 25th. episode. So am I second comings? That's why.
Yeah. It was all due to budget. That's how, we figured we wanted to get Bobby Orr and then we couldn't, so we figured we'd at least get somebody relevant from Canada, and this is the best we could do.
I've seen Scotty play in front of me, so I mean, it is Bobby. I mean, he played D up for me for a while, so I do consider him my Bobby Orr.
Yeah, and if you ask Ed, he was better than Bobby Orr.
So, Scotty, why don't you tell the viewers anyway, where they can find Brock Street Brewery and where your hours of operation?
Yeah, so basically we're all throughout Ontario. You can go to www.brockstreetbrewing.com. Right now, just because of the laws, we haven't expanded outside of the province. We played around in Manitoba for a bit, and we kind of pop in and pop out of there. But if you are in Toronto or you're visiting to Toronto, there's the government runs the liquor store. They're called the LCBOs. You can go into almost any liquor store in Ontario, and there's 300 plus of them, and where you can find us in there.
Awesome.
I can tell you, I had a couple of friends of mine go on vacation with their family up there a couple of months ago, and they took a trip and they stopped in and they said it was awesome. They loved the place.
Excellent. Yeah, we have a lot of fun there. We have a lot of fun events, a lot of good beer, and all kinds of cool stuff.
And you guys are on Facebook for everybody that has that. You can see some of the events and the postings from the brewery if you want to check that out too.
Yep. Thanks, buddies. All the socials.
Yep. Tom, let's segue over to you got any fantasy picks for this week? We didn't get to them last week.
Brought to you by Tom's Shitty Picks.
Yes.
So here we go.
Buy the shirt.
Buy the shirt.
Buy the shirt.
You cheap bastards.
All right. This week, my pitcher for the week is going to be Logan Gilbert from the Seattle Mariners. He has 2 games. He's starting two games. He's playing against Kansas City and against the Astros. Now, the Astros will be tough, but Logan Gilbert's averaging double-digit fantasy points in 4 of his last 6 starts, and his opponent's batting average this year is against him is 226. So I think he's going to rack up some points. And I'm staying with Seattle with my hitter of the week. I'm going with Julio Rodriguez. Again, he's got 4 against KC and 3 against Houston, and he's got 5 multi-hit games in his last 6 games, and he's currently batting leadoff because of injury. So he's going to get at least probably 1 more extra at bat than he normally does. But he's a career 357 average against Kansas City, so I think he's going to light them up this weekend. Book it.
Nice. So I noticed when I was on a ride to a random rink in Foxborough that I ran right into Patriots preseason Thursday night, and I said to myself, "Here we go." I didn't even know it was the day. I ran into it, traffic. I'm like, can I just get to the rink? But I was sidetracked by the Massachusetts State Police and football. So, Tom, I don't know if Ed's in the queue for this, but we're going to talk some football and what do you got this week to start this football preseason off?
I want to actually ask Scotty and Ed if Ed can hear us, but the preseason, they've cut the games down to 3 games this year instead of 4. Well, actually, I think it started last year, but I want to know what their opinion of it is and if they think it's too many games, too less games. I mean, to me, it doesn't really matter because they cut the game out, but the preseason, the camp is still the same amount of weeks and days. And they tried to do it because of injuries, and we've already had Joe Burrows and Devontae Adams both get hurt. So, I mean, it's not really cutting down on injuries too much. So I don't know what those guys think.
I'll take this first if you don't mind, since I can kind of hear it. I just think that, look, I mean, preseason is what preseason is. I mean, I'm heading back right now from the Saints game, and I saw Derek Carr. He played what 2 series today, and Patrick Mahomes, he played I think 2, and that was it. And the game was still 3 hours. They like the 2s and the 3s. They played everything for the rest of the game. It was an exciting game. I had a lot of fun and that type of thing. But I think that the product on the field is definitely suffering because guys are not getting reps at game speed. And if you really are concerned about your players, you didn't need to add the 17th game. I mean, I think that, pretty much you need to have backup players to develop your players. You need to have 2s on the squad. You need to have guys in your practice squad as well. So I just think that, take that preseason away. It kind of makes sense because they added that one game during the regular season, which dollars and cents. And season ticket holders don't want to pay for that extra home game, and for basically watching backups play. I'll kick it back to you guys. And
Go ahead, Scott.
Eddie, I would say the same thing in a way. That 17th game, I'm kind of a purist also with like baseball. Like, all those records are going to be broken because they added a 17th game. The fans weren't really just jiving for an extra 17th game. I actually got down to the Patriots training camp last week, which was actually pretty cool to see. The first time I had been there. And it's not like the training camp of our days when we played football where it's 2-a-days, you're beating each other up. This was a pads practice, and they barely touched each other. And they only, because of the collective bargaining agreement, they only have a couple pads practices. So I like the preseason. Like all of a sudden, we all know who this guy Malik Cunningham is. He was the only bright spot of that Pats game, right? Zappy was horrible. The other guy that they had, number 19, I forgot his name, the journeyman there.
McSorley.
Yeah, and then Malik comes in, and often you've already turned the channel, and this guy is just dynamic with the ball, running it, passing it. He was the best part of the game, and it came in the last like 3-4 minutes.
As far as week one going into week two, because we didn't really preview week one, do you have anything like we can kind of transition in between the 2 weeks going into next week so we can pick up where we left off?
It's stuff to look out for and watch for. Is the Patriots are practicing this week with the Green Bay Packers, and then they play. I don't know if they play Friday or Saturday, but they play. And just keep an eye on Jordan Love at quarterback for Green Bay, because it's all on him now. They trade Aaron Rodgers, so he's the guy. So it's interesting. I know he played a couple series this week, but usually the second game is you start seeing the starters play a little bit more. But that, and then like today, talk about starters not playing well. San Francisco and Shanahan as a coach, he's not messing around. He played Trey Lance the entire first half today. So I think those guys like that, those two young quarterbacks, they're under a lot of pressure, and it's be interesting to see how they perform. And even with the Pats, with Mac Jones, there's a lot of pressure on Mac Jones this year. He can't complain about an offensive coordinator anymore. He's got one. They brought Bill O'Brien back in, so it's time for him to put up or shut up.
So any stories coming out of the NFL like before the season even really gets going that like Rodgers with the Jets or anything else, to that extreme, or is everything still like kind of in the copacetic kind of?
Well, everything's copacetic, but you got to worry. You got to see how long. They're not really saying how long Joe Burrows is going to be out for. I know the wide receiver Chase told him to stay out, and he wants him to stay out until at least week 4 or 5. He said it's the beginning of the season is not important. He wants him healthy for the end of the season. But the big injury is Devontae Adams. They don't really know how bad it is. I know Josh McDaniels, all he said was that it's bad, but it's not as bad as it could be. So we'll have to see and just see how bad that injury is. And then now you have like storylines like the Indianapolis Colts and Jonathan Taylor, their wide receiver. Their running back. He wants to be traded. He hasn't shown up to camp yet, but he's supposed to come tomorrow. He's supposed to arrive. And then the whole thing with the running backs around the league have all like formed. I don't know. They have a weekly group phone call, because they're not happy with the pay and the amount of pay. The average pay for running backs is going down. So they're I don't know what they're going to do about it, but they're trying to figure out what to do with that. And see, I don't know if they're going to try to go to the collective bargaining agreement with it or what, but be interesting to keep an eye on.
That is something though, where you see the running backs used to be the highest paid players outside of the quarterbacks. Walter Paytons, Eric Dickerson's, LaDainian Thomas, Emmitt Smith. And now I think it's the analytics people. They go, you've got 3-4 good years for a running back, and then you're garbage. So while we've got you for your first contract, you're not going to be worth it the years going off. So there is a whole thing of collusion there. It's the rarity when you got a running back who can make it past 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, and it's a lot of teams now are going with like a running back by committee. You don't really see a 3-down back anymore. It's kind of a dying breed.
I know Ed was trying to hop in with something. Does Ed have anything before we change the subject?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like the thing, I kind of thought it was great with Sean Payton talking smack about the the head coach of the Broncos. Thought that was great, man. It kind of actually made it seem like, hey, that these guys aren't all like PC and stuff like that. It's kind of nice. And I mean, and Sean Payton was not wrong for what he said. I mean, it was like a country club over there, and they didn't win many football games. So, and I liked how the head coach Saleh responded. I also liked how Aaron Rodgers responded too. It's kind of nice, nice little build up to game 4, a little professional wrestling, a little UFC, if you will,
Cutting
kind of
promos.
nice.
Yeah. Hard Knocks was a puff piece, though. I felt like the first episode of Hard Knocks with the Jets and Aaron Rodgers. I was like, oh my god, it was such a puff piece. I'm totally rooting for a completely beautiful tragedy of the New York Jets failure. That's what I'm hoping for. I want to see Aaron Rodgers healthy the entire way and just lose.
So what you're saying, it's almost like the Bruins season. You want to see that, but for the Jets?
No, I don't want him to do well at all. I want this torture game by 17 games where he has to then decide he's got to retire.
Hey, Scotty, how popular is the NFL up there? I know you have the CFL, but how popular is the NFL?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. It's just they really need to bring a team up to Toronto. Toronto, it's a city of, I don't even know how many million, but it's bigger than most other cities. It's much bigger than Buffalo and others. I think we've got like 5 million maybe in the city or so. Yeah, don't quote me, but
Come on, Scotty, you got to pull those numbers, man, for your volume, man. It's all about sales volume.
Yeah, it's about 5 million Canadians. So when you relate it to American, like you lose a little bit in the exchange. But no, Toronto is an incredible sports city, right? People travel from here to Buffalo to watch the games. And when they had a couple of games before COVID where the Bills would come out and they would sell out the Rogers Arena, the Blue Jay Stadium there, which was about 65,000 seats. So this area could totally support. It supports a team in every other league, but football.
So it would be pretty cool where I'll take an NHL expansion where they're always trying to NFL it into Europe. Why don't they just absorb the the Toronto
Argonauts, yeah.
Yeah. Why don't they just do an expansion like they did with the World Hockey League and take 2 of the teams and throw them in the NFL, and it'd be pretty epic, historic. I mean, they wouldn't have to really change too much other than the NFL tag, and that'd be something that'd be noteworthy and historic to do if they ever want to do something like that.
It would be really cool. You throw one in Vancouver, throw one in Toronto, just, get a couple of the coast. This area would totally support at least, Canada would support at least 3 or 4 teams. Although anybody who gets cut off, like the Patriots practice squad, will go over to the CFL and become a star. So that's why when people are talking to me about the CFL, I'm like, sorry, that's the guy who got cut from the practice squad last year.
So like Doug Flutie. People forget that Doug Flutie played there.
He's the rarity, the Kurt Warners, the Doug Fluties, these guys who played arena ball.
Warren Moons.
Yep.
Who was that, Ed?
Warren Moon.
Warren Moon.
Warren Moon.
Warren Moon.
Tom, before we get too long in the tooth, we got about 7 minutes left in the episode. So any album picks of the week?
Yeah, this week we lost kind of a legend in rock and roll. Robbie Robertson passed away of cancer, and on the 9th. And so this week, my album of the week is going to be The Best of the Band. And Robbie wrote 8 of the 11 songs on the album, and it was released in 1976. And it was actually their first greatest hits album. They have a couple out, but some of my favorite songs from them: Up on Cripple Creek, The Weight, The Shape I'm In, and I love the song The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down. But
so pretty good documentary on them, the band. they recorded the last time they ever played together. It's called The Last Waltz. It's pretty good. I mean, it pops up every now and then. I don't know if you can watch the whole thing on YouTube, but really cool. If you're into music and you like that, kind of 70s rock, it's not heavy, but it is stuff that, if you didn't realize that the band wrote a couple of songs that you toe tap to, you'll recognize a bunch of their stuff. So being an older generation, you don't get that kind of music anymore, and it makes you appreciate it a little bit more now because how bad the music scene is for, especially for rock music. But that they're pretty underrated as far as like the Fleetwood Mac style of rock music, and it's definitely worth checking out. The Last Waltz. Scott, any thoughts on?
I think with that one, and if I've got it correctly, and I make music enthusiasts might say I'm wrong, but the band was that potential, maybe it was The Last Waltz or what have you. There was a point where there was cocaine residue in one of the nostrils of one of the players, and they had to pixelate it out. And someone from the band said that was the most expensive, most amount of money I spent on cocaine ever, because they actually had to clear that out.
Isn't that crazy? It's definitely a different time and a different set of circumstances with the bands. That no pun intended, the bands back then. So what we usually do, Scotty, before we close out, is we like to kind of do a quick round table of shout outs. And what do you got this week? You got anything for anybody watching at home, all the guys down at work?
I've got actually more of a maybe a shut up as opposed to a shout out. I think you guys, you keep mentioning the Phantom. You gotta block his name. You gotta ban his name. You're too good for him. Right? You guys are too good for the Phantom. You stop talking about him, he's gonna come to you. He loves I'm guaranteeing you, he's loving all the attention, all of that. So, and if you ever let him on, you got to keep black screen him. Like put a mask, put something like that, bag over his head.
If the bag over the head would work.
Yeah. So instead of a shout out, a shut up.
I'll tell you, it's his agent's like Scott Boras, man. Like, geez, he's tough. He's driving a hard line.
Yeah, if he's talking about him, he's going to start coming to you.
Yeah, we forgot to mention when we introduced you, Scott, that you are an American citizen and a high school graduate.
Yes, exactly.
We forgot to bring that up. It's very important that the viewers and the listeners that don't know any of the backstory get the whole they get the classified GI Joe file card on the back of the package.
I grew up with these knuckleheads. We all played hockey and we beat each other over the heads for many years.
No concussion protocols.
No, we did not. We were finesse players. Don't you forget about that.
I want to give a quick shout out to just everybody that's wrote in the last like 25 episodes. Just thanks for the support, and thanks for just tuning in every week and giving us a thumbs up, a like, a subscription, all that other fun stuff that keeps us rolling in the old social media world. Tom, you got anything?
I want to give a shout out to one of our older friends, Hav. I ran into him recently, about a little over a week ago, and I probably sat and talked to him for like over a half hour, 40 minutes. It was great catching up with him, and I know he's listening and watching, and I just want to thank him and tell him he's doing good, man. Take it one day at a time.
If you had interviewed him for the podcast, we probably could have wrote that off and probably got your market basket for tax purposes. Ed, any quick shout outs? We got like a minute left.
Got a minute left. Scotty, thanks for coming on, man. It's great to see you. Maybe we can actually coordinate a visit together. And now we can see each other. But just want to say thank you to everybody that listens every week and reaches out for us. And I don't know. I don't know if 2014 come out as a top tier anymore.
So, we're going to have to find out how these legal things work. And we're going to have to write off a business trip one of these times and see if we can get recouped on some travel expenses and whatnot. Still, that's all still a unknown territory for the 1973 podcast.
Absolutely. We should hold it in the brewery.
Yes.
That'd be great. Yeah, I mean, keep sending in these ideas. They're great. We'll work on it. We got plenty of things to do. It's a whole new venture, places to go, things to do. So, we're gonna we'll get there. We were gonna coordinate an event that everybody could go to, or something like that, and record from an event, or a game, or something like that. We're working on a bunch of different stuff. So we're under a minute left, so I'm just gonna sign off and tell everybody thanks. And Scott, thanks for coming on. We'll check out you guys next week, and maybe Ed can work on his production.
Peace out from the road.
Later, everybody.
Cheers, boys.